Welcome back. Sportz Blitz Live, Luke Robinson here. This segment brought to you by Dane Sharp, attorney at law. Certainly do want to thank Mr. Dane Sharp and for all the good work he does for the community and for sponsoring this segment. Right now I'm joined by Ryan Wood from the Opelika-Auburn News. I called it the Opelika-Auburn News a minute ago, but I don't think that's right. But they are kind of close communities, so maybe it could work. From the Opelika-Auburn News, we have Ryan Wood. Ryan, how you doing today?
Hey, doing well. How are you this evening?
Doing fantastic. Thanks so much for being with us. Well, look, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this shooting situation. Do you know of anything that has happened in the last 45 minutes to an hour to lead you to believe that they are much closer to catching Desmonte Leonard?
I do not. And I think the last time I spoke to the people on our news side was probably about an hour ago. So since then, kind of more of a sports day with Gene Chizik giving his comments today. And that's been my primary focus today. But no, as far as I'm aware right now, as of about an hour ago, he's still at large and, still a manhunt, massive manhunt for Desmonte Leonard.
What is the feeling on campus? And I know the obvious answer is overall sadness, there's no doubt. But are people mad? What are people thinking? Are they feeling less safe? Are they feeling that, like, Auburn's okay and this is an isolated incident? I'm just curious what the overall feeling on campus is right this minute and in the city of Auburn in general.
I thought that some of the residents that I spoke to from University Heights Apartments had an interesting take in which they were shooken to the certain extent that you would expect, but not over that, because it can happen anywhere. And I think most people have heard that enough in their lives. Hey, something like this can happen somewhere, that it's kind of a truth, even at a place like Auburn, even at a place that is, as I describe it, kind of a Mayberry with an SEC football powerhouse dropped in the middle of it, a small town feel. It can happen even there. And I think that, if anything, that's what everyone's kind of learned this past 3 days, is that a tragedy, violence can spark up anywhere. You always have to be cognizant of it. You always have to be looking for it. So maybe more aware of that for sure, but especially after it's been proven so horribly, so coldly that it can happen anywhere. But there's sadness. It's stunned. I think that sickening is another adjective you can kind of describe the mood of the town. But certainly it's proof that this type of thing can happen no matter where it is.
So Gene Chizik did have his press conference today. What did you think about that? And did he have anything poignant or anything to say about the football team in general and what their mood is?
Well, I think that the first thing that at least I took away from it was not even words. It was more just demeanor. I mean, you could tell that Gene Chizik, like many other people, is hurting. And it's a tragedy that obviously stuck very close to home for him, knowing Ed Christian and Ladarius Phillips and their families as he does, as well as Eric Mack, of course, who is alive and expected to make a full recovery. He said very bluntly, right now, he does not care about football. Right? He does not care about what kind of effect this tragedy has on the season. I'm sure later down the road that will become more important. But right now it's about people. It's about life and life lost. It's about devastation, and that's his focus, is trying to get his players, his young kids, many of them 18 to 22 years old, to get over one of the hardest things, and not the hardest thing that they've ever had to grieve about. That's his focus, is his priority, and that and reaching out to the families of the victims is what he's about right now.
You know, this tragedy this past weekend follows an eerie path of similarities between Alabama and Auburn of late. Alabama wins a national championship. Auburn wins one. Alabama has an incredible, awful, unexpected tragedy in the middle of non-football season that affects the football team. Auburn this year has the same kind of thing happen. Of course, it wasn't a natural disaster, but it was in the middle of nowhere. It came out of the clear blue sky. And it was just shocking. I mean, you just don't expect to hear about these types of things. And Alabama and Auburn seem to be following these similar paths. But I think for those that are worried about football at all, and look, let's not play games. Football is important here. Some people are going to probably wonder how this tragedy affects the football team in the future. Right now, of course, they're not worried about it. But I think that the University of Alabama showed that sometimes through tragedy, you can pull together and still have a lot of success on the football field. And I think a lot of people would say that they hope Auburn is able to overcome this and do really great things next year.
Yeah, certainly, especially in the sport of football, a sport that's very physical, a sport that is the ultimate team sport, 11 different components doing different things to work as one. The amount of team chemistry, the amount of brotherhood that you have to have on the field, a tragedy in any walk of life, whether it be sports or outside of sports, brings people together like few things can. That said, of course, I think that I know that obviously you never want to see anything like this happen. Gene Chizik, the players, would give just about anything to be able to change the past. So it's not in any way being looked at as any kind of benefit for football, but yeah, it has that effect in sports and outside of sports.
I totally agree. And look, I again, first and foremost, you're concerned about the mindset of all the students and all the people that are involved in this at all, and even some of the people that are just around it. So, but in the end, I mean, we are a sports program. Eventually, we're going to start talking about how this has an effect on the football team. But, excuse me, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about recruiting. Auburn got some good news right before we went on air when one of the top defensive ends in the country committed to Auburn out of the state of New Jersey, right?
Yeah, they did. And, I think the thing that instantly sticks out is how, in terms of success along that defensive line, how many high-quality, high-talented recruits they're really stockpiling. I mean, already, D-liner, they got Carl Lawson, a 5-star defensive end, and here comes another very, very highly touted defensive lineman. Defensive lineman's huge in the SEC, as it is in all of college football. You got to be able to stop the run up front. You got to be able. So I think that if you can stockpile at that position, you're doing something right.
Well, Ryan, I'm glad that we could end this interview on a positive note here because I'm telling you, there's been a lot of sadness coming out of Auburn, and certainly our thoughts and prayers are with everybody in the Auburn community, and we hope that they catch this Desmonte Leonard very, very quickly, and we hope that he's brought to justice, and I know you guys will be right on top of it.
Absolutely. That we the police say that they won't rest until he's brought to justice, and that's very commendable. And it's been long days for everybody, I can tell you that. But our job in the wake of this is to keep everyone updated the best that we can, and that's what we're committed to do.
Ryan, thanks so much for being with us. I know that it's been hard on everybody the past few days, but you guys are doing a fantastic job, and thanks so much for taking a little bit of time out and going over some of the issues here.
Absolutely. Thanks. Have a good evening.
All right, that was Ryan Wood from the Opelika-Auburn News. We'll be back in just a minute with more Sportz Blitz Live.